Now, last week's Nintendo Direct really made one thing clear, besides the fact that there's absolutely nothing exciting coming to the Nintendo Switch anytime soon besides maybe Pokemon Snap. And that is that Nintendo really does not give a shit about its consumer and is trying to scam them at every single point they can, like ridiculous prices for games. And not like Sony does it, where PlayStation raised the price of a single video game from 60 to 70 euros. No, Nintendo does it different. Nintendo likes to ridiculously overprice the games they are selling. And usually these games are remakes or ports of older games to the Nintendo Switch. A quick example of this from last week's Nintendo Direct is Miitopia, which originally was a small RPG game for the 3DS that I believe was like 20 bucks, right? And now it's been ported to Switch and it costs 50 euros, very cool. Now, Nintendo increasing the price for a port of a game is not a new thing. Back in May of 2018, they re-released Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze on a Nintendo Switch for 60 bucks. Now, people quickly realized that on the Wii U, Tropical Freeze could still be bought for 50 euros. And when people started questioning Nintendo why the port is 10 euros more expensive than the original on the Wii U, Nintendo simply answered by saying absolutely nothing and deleting the game off of the Wii U, making the Switch port the only option people had that wanted to buy and play this game. Another one of these games is the upcoming Skyward Sword HD remaster, which is a 9-year-old game Nintendo wants to sell for full price, which is 60 euros. Even though they've changed almost nothing about it, the most they've done is updated the resolution to make the game HD. And yet there is still a Nintendo fanboy who made a video defending Nintendo's decision to scam us out of our money and says that Skyward Sword being 60 euros is completely fine. So let's watch this video and see if he has any valid arguments.
Greetings to everyone out there and welcome back to Around the Clock. Now, during our very first Nintendo Direct of 2021, there were tons of DLC, first party and third party games announced for the Nintendo Switch, and they will release in the very first half of 2021. And it's really interesting to see so many complaints online of people claiming that this was one of the worst Directs ever.
I mean, it really depends on your preference. Like for me, there were only like 3 games that interested me slightly, right? But if you're like a huge fan of old school JRPGs, you're gonna be fucking psyched because that's all the Direct was, basically.
And one of the biggest complaints that I've seen is that Skyward Sword HD, which was announced for the Nintendo Switch, is not worth the $60 that Nintendo is charging for it. So in this video, we're gonna give you 5 reasons why Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch is not overpriced at $60. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Coming in at number 5, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch is not a limited time release.
Okay, that's not a plus. That's like when EA came out and said, hey, Battlefield 5 will not have loot boxes. If you don't know what the limited time offer thing is for games, Nintendo has recently been doing this thing that when they port an older game to the Switch, they say, hey, it's only available for X amount of months and after that you can never buy it again, which is pretty much forcing people that are not sure if they want to buy the game to buy the game, because if they don't buy it now, they never have the option to buy it again. Just because it doesn't include an anti-consumer practice like that doesn't mean that it automatically excuses the other anti-consumer practice of having this ridiculously high price.
This game is not like the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection, which actually has 3 games included, along with the Fire Emblem 30th anniversary celebration of Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light. Both the collection of these Mario games and this Fire Emblem game both go away in March of this year, so this is not the case with Skyward Sword. This will be an ongoing game in retails and on the eShop, so if you really think that this game is overpriced at $60, just wait till it goes on sale or buy it from Walmart. They have brand new Nintendo Switch games for the price of $49.99.
Yeah man, just wait for a sale. Nah mate, fuck you, that's a dumb argument. You can't just say, oh, this person overpriced something, but hey, You know, it might go on sale in the future, so maybe you'll be able to buy it then, question mark. Because again, you know, it's not bound to eventually go on sale. It might never, and even if it does, it could only go like on sale for 10% off or something like that.
Alright, now moving on to the fourth reason on why Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch is not overpriced. Well, it's right there in the title of the game. The graphics are in HD.
My guy, that's like the bare minimum they could do. The game really doesn't look that much different from when it came out 9 years ago.
Unlike the original Wii version, which I believe gave an output of 480, and I know that it was transferred to the Wii U, but the graphics still look horrible. Now, here's a comparison which I got from WCCFtech.com, and as you can see on the left hand side with the Wii version, the image is all blurry, there's no definition on that image whatsoever. But for the Nintendo Switch, you can see that Link has the wrinkles in his face. The image looks way better. The quality is extremely better than the one that you see on the left hand side.
Bro, all they did was raise the resolution of the game. It's not that difficult. They didn't add any detail. Those lines in his face you are talking about are also in the 480p version of the game. You can actually see them, except they're way less visible. Because again, the quality is so shit. And just to prove how little of a deal this is, I'm going to show you a clip from a YouTube channel called The Video Game Donkey, I think we're all familiar with him, about how different HD remakes and the original game really are.
I am playing Hitman 2 for the PS2, and I think it went to HD.
That's literally the only difference there will be in the visuals between the Wii version of Skyward Sword and the Nintendo Switch version of Skyward Sword.
Alright, let's move on to the third reason on why The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD is not overpriced on the Nintendo Switch, and that's because of the revamped control system. Back when this game was originally released in 2011, the only way that you can play Skyward Sword on the Wii was with the nunchuck and the Wii remote, because this game utilizes motion controls. Even when Nintendo transferred this game over to the Wii U, you still had to use the Wii remote and nunchuck in order to play this game. You couldn't use the Pro Controller or the Wii U gamepad whatsoever. But since Nintendo took out the time to revamp the controls for the Nintendo Switch system, you have many options to play this game, either with the Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch, if you still want to utilize the motion controls, or you can just play this game with your Pro Controller.
So with many ways to play, he pretty much means two. You can play either with or without motion controls, which I think it's kind of ridiculous that you were incapable of playing this game on the Wii U without using motion controls. But then again, I don't believe that them revamping the control system and making it so you can play the game with only, you know, the buttons and the sticks improves the game to a point where it's worth $60 now. Again, changing the control scheme to be able to play this game without motion controls is literally doing the bare minimum.
And what's even great about this, and something that a lot of people are not pointing out, is that Eiji Aonuma even stated that Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch can even be played on the Nintendo Switch Lite. And that says a lot, because that lets us know that even if you just have a regular Nintendo Switch, you can still experience that same motion sword control even when you're just playing in handheld mode.
Yeah, you'd think that'd be obvious when they tell you that you can play the game only using the buttons. But, you know, this guy has the brain of a fucking mentally handicapped goldfish, so he probably needed some more explanation to realize that.
Alright, let's move on to the second to last reason on why Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch is not overpriced. And that's because this game, I guarantee you, will retain its value over time.
Yeah, I doubt it, since no game ever retains all of its value over time.
Right now, if you check out GameStop.com and you look at the original Wii version of Skyward Sword, you can see that you can get this game pre-owned for $44.99. That means even after 10 years of the original release of this game on the Nintendo Wii, Skyward Sword still retains its value even with the 480p graphics at $44.99 used.
No, it means that GameStop will have to sell Skyward Sword for $45 to make any form of profit whatsoever. It has nothing to do with the quality of the game. If a good game will always retain its value, then please tell me why Fallout New Vegas is only $10 while Fallout 76, the worst game of 2019, is still $60. Please explain.
Alright, we're down to the #1 reason on why The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD is not overpriced for the Nintendo Switch at $60, and that's because this is the origin story of the Legend of Zelda franchise. The very first story in the timeline.
Okay, bullshit, just because it is the prequel and it's like the first game in the timeline, you know, the one that explains why there are so many Links and so many Zeldas and why they always end up in this situation that they do in every single game, does not mean that you can sell the game for more. This is the dumbest, most retarded argument in the entire video yet. Just because this game is important to the entire story of the Legend of Zelda franchise does not mean that it can be extremely fucking overpriced. Anyway, you guys, the video is over. I don't have much else to say, really. Besides the typical YouTube stuff of subscribe, like, comment. Don't let Nintendo scam you, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.